On the island of Newfoundland, upon the southwest coast, lies the little town of Virgil, to whom I'll sing this toast. There are so many highlands that lie just off her shore, and when the cold north wind blows, you can hear the billows roar. The people from the village make their living from the sea. They like their independence, it shows that they are free. Some fish in their small boats in the wind, the rain and sleet, while others make their living on the offshore trawler fleet. They've known their share of tragedies down through the years, and when the memories overcome, they show their grief with tears. For they have lost some loved ones to the furies of the seas, for heartaches and heartbreaks are locked in memories. This village has got beauty carved on its rugged shore. 7 miles of pure white sand, who could ask for more? The mountains and the valleys where the rivers run so fast, and the salmon rise to the sportsman's fly as he makes another cast. Now the people of this village love their native home, for anyone who goes away oh surely will return. Just like that lifelong mystery, the answer you won't know. What makes this rugged village burn so deeply in your soul? What makes this rugged village burn so deeply in your soul?
Good evening, and welcome to This Week in Review. Tonight in our stories we have school opening, principal's report, town council report. Please stay tuned for these stories after this.
I remember when I was young, this old rifle would lean against the wall at home. Always loaded, easy for anyone to pick up.
No kidding, Grandpa? Really?
Yeah, it was right out in the open. Then one day something awful happened.
Daddy!
It didn't need to.
Boy, I'm sure glad they're safe. Now they can't get into the wrong hands.
On Tuesday, September 7th, school was open for registration to begin another school year. Classes began on Wednesday, September the 8th. This year, 8 students entered kindergarten and 20 students begin their final year. There are a total of 140 children registered, with 2 classes of multi-classes.
Two people really want to be together and there's no problems, then you can partner up. Okay? It's only if 3 people want to be in the same locker that there's a problem, in which case I will draw names. But to be fair, I'll give you guys the option.
Mr. Penny also spoke with me about the upcoming school year.
Well, thank you, Maxine, for coming in once again. I want to take this opportunity to welcome everyone back to another school year, and I'd say everyone because obviously involves our students and teachers, but parents and our community is obviously a very big part of our school. Looking forward to another exciting year. I also want to welcome our kindergarten students. I believe we have 8 kindergarten students. Obviously they attended preschool last year in our school. Certainly want to wish them all the best. We had an assembly on Wednesday morning. We introduced them to the school, and again want to wish them and their parents all the best. Also like to run down through the teachers that we have. We have 1 new teacher to our school, but just to kind of I guess give an update on what teachers are teaching. Kindergarten this year is, as with last year, is Mrs. Gloria Compton. Our 1-2 is a multi-grade. That's Mrs. Karen Banfield Ayer. Grade 3 is Marlene Vatcher. Grade 4 is Elsie Rose. 5-6, new to the position but not new to our school, is Sheldon Shears. Grade 7, we've got for homeroom is Megan Cooper. She's also our phys ed teacher. Grade 8 is homeroom is John Barter. He's our social studies teacher. Grade 9 is Grace Abbott, who is also the junior and senior high science teacher. Level 1 is Chris Byrne, and he's our math teacher, junior and senior high. Grade 11 is Jennifer Ann, also our French teacher. Grade 12, Dana Green, also our English teacher. Voice principal music, Heather Billert. Special services teacher is Tina Hatcher. Our guidance counselor for our school, as well as the 3 coastal schools, is Ruby Penny. Social studies, tech, some art classes is Wayne Vivian. And the new teacher that we have is Jeremy Ouse, and he's half-time. He's actually replacing Sheldon Shears from his position from last year. And Jeremy will be teaching grade 7 English and a senior high writing course. So that's our staff, and once again I want to wish everyone all the best, teachers, students, parents, and certainly if there's any questions or whatnot to please drop in. The door is usually open, same with Mrs. Billert. And if the phone is easier, then you can certainly give us a call about any issues or any concerns. A number of things I want to run down through regarding certain rules and some things that's happening in our school. Some forms and different things have been sent home to students, to parents during the first day or two of school. At this point, we do not have a CIS worker, at least for September. What I've been told is that the funding for that program has now changed hands in the government, and the funding has not been approved, and I certainly hope that it will be starting in October. But the only word I have on it now is that we will not have a CIS worker for September. The SNAP program, with that being said, even though the CIS worker usually have a big dealings with our SNAP program, we hope to have that running by Monday. Another program that, along with the ALP committee who's funding this 100% through Western Health, is a FAST program. And FAST stands for Family and Schools Together. It's a program where, I'm going to explain this very briefly, but there's a lot of detail to it. But for students in kindergarten to grade 4, a letter was sent home. Even though the deadline was this past Friday, if parents are still interested, we will certainly take letters or the forms back on Monday. But what the program entails, very briefly, is that we were looking for families to work with the school personnel, to work with some other agencies outside of our school, a number of volunteers. And what it entails is that starting October 25th, which is a Monday night, and for 8 Monday nights in total, we will be having sessions here at the school right now around 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock for families. It's free of charge. There's a meal will be provided, a number of activities for kids, a number of activities for parents. I've been speaking with principals in other schools. There's a group of 6 of us that's on the committee. We're trained in late June, and it seems like a fabulous program. Again, if there's any questions on it, to please give myself, Mrs. Penny, even Kathy Cutler a call. and we will certainly do our best to help you out with any questions you would have. We're looking at having 10 families for the session. That's the maximum. The minimum is probably going around somewhere around 6 or 7, and they tell us that that you're going to need that many families in order to get get it up and running. And when we say families, it includes everybody in that family in that household. If there's 2 or 3 children, mom and dad, if that's 5 people, that's one family. Maybe a single mom or dad, 1 child, 2 kids, or there's 2 people in a family, still consists of a family. So we're looking forward to it, and we certainly hope that we get to 10 families. And one other note on that, if we get more than 10, we obviously got to shortlist it. That could be tough to do, but something we have to work at. And also we will have Gwen Green and Paulette Ann, who will be doing some home visits to kind of run through the program with parents, kind of give them an update before we start. And like I said, we're not starting until October the 25th and running until, I believe it's December the 13th. And there will be a graduation involved. Like I said, a very big deal. It sounds like a very good program. And the benefits I've been told is that connection between the home and the school. It's just a better connection. So again, any questions, please give us a shout on that. And again, to reiterate, it's only students in the fast child, we call it, is only the child that's in grades kindergarten to 4. It doesn't go above that. As you've seen on BBS on Channel 10, the library will be closed Monday the 13th for pretty much the entire week. The library is now going automatic with all their books. Sometime in October, Frida and Ellen are going to be trained in the program. So we've sent home letters, a form, and cards for K to 7 parents are asked to fill it out for their child. 8 to 12 students can fill it themselves. But anybody now wishing to take a book out of the library must have an ID, which they must fill out the card and the forms before they get their ID. And this will come from Frida and the library. So if you haven't already sent that back, please do so as soon as possible. There was also a letter sent home to all parents regarding the energy drinks. Red Bull, I believe Monster is one, I think Red Rain, and there's a couple more that I'm not familiar with. If you've been watching much of the news around July, there's been a lot of reports on using these drinks and the harmful effects from those. So right now, it's a complete ban, 24/7, on having those energy drinks in our school. We had a ban on them in the past, but now the letters come from the school board and they're asking that be sent to them. And I certainly ask that parents speak to your child. In my opinion, I'm not a medical doctor, but from the reports, it is very dangerous and students shouldn't be using them at all. But for school time, it's not to be in school whatsoever. Cell phones is also an issue we've had in the past couple of years. Last year we banned cell phones completely, which means students are not permitted in school with cell phones at all. 2 years ago we were having issues with students text messaging. Apparently they were having them in their pockets. They don't need to see the little, I guess the keyboard is with them to text message. So teachers were unaware of it. But it came to our attention from other students that cheating was happening. Even bullying was happening with cell phones. So that's why we put the plan in place last year. The only thing we've changed this year is the consequences that if students are caught with cell phones. First offense, the cell phone will be taken and passed back at the end of the day at 3 o'clock. So if it's taken at 9, if it's taken at 10 to 3, at 3 o'clock the cell phone will be passed back. The second offense, the cell phone obviously is taken again, but parents and parents only must come in and pick it up. If parents are gone away for a couple of days, the cell phone stays there at school. So, and this again was approved by our school board. Now, if parents are out of town for a length of time, month, 2 months, 3 months or more, gone away for work or whatever, we will make exceptions there, but that will be the only reason. Third offense or beyond, same thing as the second offense, but there will be disciplinary action from the school. Detentions, possibly in school, out of school suspensions. So there's no reason for students to have cell phones in schools. There's a payphone here. For emergencies, we have phones in our office, the staff room throughout. So that there's no reason to have a cell phone. With that being said, if students are coming back after hours, 4:35 beyond, for sporting events, choir, drama, cadets, I'm okay with having cell phones then, because obviously access to some of the phones then are obviously off limits, and in case of dirty weather or whatnot, then we will permit cell phones at that time, but not from 8:30 in the morning when students enter the school till after 3 when they leave. No cell phones at all. Just a reminder on lateness. Students have to be in school in their own rooms at 8:49 in the morning, and at 12:59 after lunch. After recess, I believe it's 11:05 or 11:06. If not, students are considered late. It's in their agendas. The consequences for that: after 5 lateness per term, a letter will be sent home, and further latenesses again can be disciplinary action from the school. We all live close enough to the school. I know lunchtime is a bit of a rush, but a lot of our students that have been chronic lateness in the past actually are the close ones that live to our school. So there's no reason for lateness. For signing out, students have to the school have to get permission from a parent before we can let a child leave school. If the parent's not home, we may contact a grandparent. If they're not home, the student will have to stay in school. Something new now that the Department of Education and our school board is working on, and you will see signs. There's 4 signs around our school. We have a no idling zone. School bus, parents, any vehicles now in our parking lot on school grounds are permitted, are required to have their vehicles turned off. This certainly can be an issue sometimes in the winter. I know we have some parents who are coming to our school as early as 11:15. If that's during the winter months, you are not permitted right now to have your vehicles running. So if you do, we will get word to you to make sure that it's turned off. So my advice there will be probably show up to pick up your child at 11:45, 10 to 12. It's plenty of time, and turn off your vehicles when you arrive to school. Fire drills, according to the our fire commissioner's office, we are required to have 10 fire drills a year. They like for us to have one a month, but that's almost impossible during the winter months. So we would probably have around 5 or so until the weather gets poor, and then the remaining 5 or so in April, May, and June when the weather turns nice again. Lockdown. Your homeroom teacher should have explained lockdowns to students. If parents got any questions on that, it's in their agendas, students' agendas, and if there's any further questions, please let us know. An evacuation plan in case there is an actual fire or students have to be removed from the building for whatever reason. K to 3 students will go to Ann Strickland's right here next to our school. 4 to 6 students will go to Stan Domini's. 7 to 9 is at BBS, and 10 to 12s will be at the town office. So in case of, like it's an emergency where an evacuation is necessary, that's where your child will be to in case it happens, and obviously we keep our fingers crossed that never happens. We have a few students in senior I or on CDLI. That will start on Monday, September 13th, classes. Our annual curriculum nights will go at September the 27th, I believe at 7 o'clock. A further memo will go on BBS as we get closer to that date. K to 6 parents will meet with their child's teacher in the homerooms. 7 to 12 parents will meet the child's teachers in the gym. And tables for those teachers will be set up as in the past, and parents will then just go from table to table to kind of introduce themselves to the teachers. Teachers will have some long-term plans, evaluation schemes, and so on, and just chat with parents. Very informal. So they just come out and meet the teacher night and bring any questions or concerns you may have at that time as well. Our Healthy Commotions Day that we've had in the last couple of years, along with the school's Terry Fox Walk, or Run, whatever you want to call it, will go ahead on Friday, September the 24th. Again, a memo will be put on BBS as we get closer to that. As with the past number of years, we have 5 closeout days throughout the year. Our first 3 are actually in October, so some holidays for our students. October the 14th will be our first closeout day, and then October the 19th and the 20th will be the days 2 and 3 for closeout. 4 and 5 has not been decided yet, and they once they are, I will notify you on BBS. Agendas, I'm open by Monday that all of our agendas are in. To date, some of them are in. I'm waiting until they all come in to pass them out to students. This year, my understanding is the agendas are pretty much the same right throughout K to 12. And I asked the parents to spend some time going over the agendas. A lot of rules, a lot of policies, a lot of everyday happenings, I guess, at our school that parents can certainly read through, may want to go through with your child. And a number of the things I've already mentioned here are in the agendas as well. So take some time to read through those, and again, any questions or concerns, let us know. For fundraising, again, we will continue with our bingo this year. The snack program will have 2 bingos. The first one now at the end of September 29th. The school has 3 bingos. And along with recycling, that's pretty much the extent of the school's fundraising. Some of the sports team may get into some other fundraising for jerseys that we're thinking about right now. The grads will get into some separate fundraisers for the grad, but like I said, the bingo and the bingo and the recycling is the main school's fundraising. And I would encourage people to buy bingo cards to help out our school. If you've got some recycling you want to drop off at our school at any time, you're certainly welcome to do so. And with the recycling, the MMSB will match dollar for dollar every item that we collect. So it's a very good fundraiser, and for the most part, in my opinion, it's a very easy fundraiser for our child. Some parents may not agree with that, but if you talk to parents in other schools, there's a lot of time spent on fundraising. So I think we're pretty fortunate in that regards. Just a couple of other things. Remind everyone that we are a cent-free school. So people visiting our school, students, teachers, it's cent-free. Some students, and yes, even some teachers do come in with perfume, cologne, aftershave, whatnot, and we're asking everyone to just be cognizant of the fact that a lot of our students and staff are allergic to a lot of these strong smells. And I know a lot of our hospitals and a lot of places around our community and around Newfoundland are scent-free, so our school has gone that way as well. And the last thing I would just remind everyone is that in the mornings the school opens at 8:30. There's a teacher on duty at that time. Students are not permitted in the building before that time. So if you've got a wet morning, a snowy morning, and students are dropped off at 8:15, they will not get in school until 8:30, and at lunchtime it's 12:40. So please keep that in mind. Teachers, are not permitted to be here until 8:30. So in that regards, students will not be able to get into the building. And on that note, I'm sure there's a lot more I could chat about, but I think those are probably the main concerns. Again, I want to wish everyone a very good year. Obviously, our main goal is to provide the students of Virgil the best education possible, and I think that for a small school, a small community, I think we are equipped with that. Very qualified teachers. In my opinion, some of the top-rate technology in our school. Small classrooms. Good one-on-one capabilities for our teachers and students. And if there's ever any concerns, I know I mentioned it now a few times, or questions, please give us a call. And if my door is open, you're welcome to pop in at any time. So again, thank you, and all the best.
Just a reminder, if any organization would like to book a TV bingo for the upcoming bingo season, please call me at 886-2935. There are still a few slots available, but call early for the best dates. Mayor McDonald came by the studio with his town council report.
Good evening. Your town council report for August 31st, town council elders meeting. This report is a week late. Last week I didn't put it on because of the long weekend, Labor Day weekend. A lot of people was out of town, and I would like to reach as many as people as possible with those council reports. So I want to start off this evening by reading a proclamation, a statement in observance of International Literacy Day. Whereas the United Nations estimates that 860 million adults around the world cannot communicate with the written word, and more than 110 million children do not have access to formal education. Whereas the literacy is an important part of a healthy, empowered society. And whereas partnerships between all levels of government and community literacy agencies help address the literacy needs of the population. And whereas on this day, individuals, organizations, and countries around the world will renew their commitment to improve access to education, highlight the efforts of the literacy community, and celebrate the gift of reading and writing. Now therefore, we do hereby proclaim September the 8th, 2010, International Literacy Day, and urge all residents to commit themselves to the literacy effort and to join us in the celebration of illiteracy. Now this, of course, is a couple of days late, but nevertheless, it's never too late to deal with it. So I think it's very important that I read this out. I also had to sign the proclamation. And while I speak on that, there's a couple comments I want to make on today's world. And I guess the perception is out there amongst the people in Newfoundland. I've heard several comments on it over the past year where technology has improved somewhat with the internet, the BlackBerry, and cell phone, and texting, and people is concerned that the next generation will not be able to sit and write with a pen because of all this technology. So I leave that up to you. What do you think? It's your kids, so it's just something to think about. At our last council meeting on August the 31st, the first item on the agenda, of course, was Mr. Gordon Janes from Bonnell Cole Janes, and Bonnell Cole Janes has been auditing the town's books for a number of years, and he recently audited the financial statement for 2009. He spent an hour with council at our meeting. He went through the financial statement in detail, explaining each category and answering any questions that councillors may add. And he concluded by stating that the town is in a very good financial position, but the debt commitment that the town has made for the water treatment plant limits what the town can do in the next several years. Now, I knew that, and council knew that when we took office last year in October. But nevertheless, you're all aware that the town's budget is just over $1 million. And a lot of that do go to pay down our debt load, like the water treatment plant. And of course, the pavement around town, there's still a debt on that. And also the water system that was put in the ground many years ago. But nevertheless, we were aware of all that, and we intend to move forward. And now we intend to move forward with I guess a very limited budget, because besides the debt load we have to employees to pay, and we have to do our day-to-day maintenance, and of course other expenses, insurance and expenses, and snow clearing and garbage collection and repairing water lines, and all this type of thing has got to be done. But nevertheless, we plan to move ahead, and we will. And you will find that out by listening to this report. And I guess our strategy, what we have in mind is there's some cases where if there's a certain project approved, we can probably afford 10%. So that would be a 90-10 project. And in other cases, we're expecting the government to come up with the 100% costs. The water treatment system, still trying to get bugs out of that system. They had to replace one valve, I think it is at least 3 times now. And the system itself is supposed to automatically backwash the filtration system, and that's not happening. And the weekend of the last weekend in August, that sometime through that night, the system shut down automatically. She shut down, and there were no alarms sounded. The people who was in charge of the project was supposed to pick it up on their computer about alarm system, and that didn't happen. It was very fortunate that the town manager did wake up through it tonight and had to use the bathroom for some reason and noticed his water pressure dropped. So when his water pressure drops at the altitude he is, then there certainly gives reason that there's something wrong. So that was acted on, and the problem was solved, but there's still issues surrounding this alarm system, and that got to be fixed, and the automatic backwash of the water system. So it's going to be some time before that 90-day trial even starts, loan completed. But nevertheless, it's cost the town nothing at the present time in terms of the time that's being spent in there by the contractors. Also, in regards to the water system, fencing for the water treatment plant, it came to our attention a while ago that this is a necessary thing for security reasons, and I cannot elaborate on what them security reasons are at the present time, but we felt strongly yesterday to be done, so we approached the provincial government for funding, and we got that funding approved on the a 90-10 basis, so the cost of the project will be just over $10,000, and the government came up with $9,000 some odd dollars to complete that project, and this project will be carried out as soon as possible by Cooper's Construction, and that's going to be done for security reasons, and it should have been in the original contract in the beginning, but that's one of them things you just overlook. Conserving of water. Council would like to remind residents to upgrade, once again, their water systems so that they won't have to run water during the cold months of the winter. And you can do that by insulating your pipes, digging your pipes down deeper in the ground, or putting soil on top of your pipes if you can't get down no deeper. And it's important that people carry that out. I noticed there have been a lot of people around the community have already got at this work, insulated pipes and put soil on it and dug it down deeper, and it's still happening as I speak today. People are preparing their water lines for the future. The flyer that the towns had done up for the consumer to be placed in their mailboxes. This was delayed somewhat due to the people at the printer's office taking vacation. But hopefully by the end of the month, this will be here and distributed in your mailbox. Waste management. Still waiting for a cost on the trucking of waste out of Burgeo to St. George's. And I believe it came to my attention the truck is still in Burgeo because while the trial run took place, the truck did not get into Grey Rivers because of the ferry, Gallipoli, have had mechanical problems all summer. She's operating on without one of her thrusters, and I don't believe she's allowed to go into Grey Rivers. I think they're waiting for this to be fixed on the ferry so they can carry out the rest of the project. But nevertheless, since the trial run has been done here in Burgeo, the people of Bay St. George have decided that they don't want garbage carried into their area. They want their garbage and others taken to central location. So obviously that's going to leave us with another problem and probably drive the cost higher, but nevertheless, like we stated in the beginning, if the cost is too high, then we don't become a part of it. We have to come up with some other solution. And I don't know, our incinerator is in a deplorable state right now. And of course, some people think landfill is the best route to go, and some people think incinerating is the best route to go. And I do know that in some communities in BC, they have for years converted back to the landfill system, and now they're gone back to the incinerator burning again. So I guess it's damned if you do and damned if you don't. And whichever way you go, there's going to be some sort of pollution. But I believe if an incinerator was operated in the proper way, just the proper household waste going in, then it would certainly limit your pollution. And I mean, things like tires and paints and that should never go into an incinerator. So nevertheless, we'll keep you updated as information becomes available. The garage fire, you're all aware by now that an unfortunate situation happened at our town garage. The garage caught fire on a Friday night, 1 a.m. in the morning, and a passerby noticed the fire and called the proper authorities. The garage did carry insurance like all town buildings. And of course, the insurance people have been in and looked at the contents of the building. And since that time, the contents of the building has been removed and it's been cleaned up somewhat. And the insurance people are supposed to come back again and take a look at the structure of the building. So we're expecting them in the community by Monday or Tuesday of next week to take a look at that building, because we want this completed as quick as possible so we can prepare ourselves for the winter ahead. And I want to thank at this time again, I've given thanks to our fire department and the Gulf News and radio station, but I want to thank them here on our local community channel, fire department, for a quick response like always. And I think that's a good team there. And some of the firemen was there from 1 a.m. I believe in the morning to I think it was around 11 o'clock Saturday morning before the RCMP showed up from Stephenville. So they had to stand watch over that building. And I want to thank them for their efforts in the community. The Coastal Habitat Stewardship Agreement was signed on July the 28th in Burgeo at the Fire Hall. Mr. Ed Buckingham, Secretary to the Minister of Environment, was in Burgeo, and he's also the MHA for St. John's East. He presented the town with a nice, beautiful sign, which we have now erected in the Hearns Arm area. And I guess our objective there, number one objective, is to preserve and protect the piping plover and eider duck population. And of course, there are 10% of the piping plover in Newfoundland nest in the sand dunes around our beaches. And I see this as very important in terms of tourism as well. For example, I spent some time with a lady from Ontario in our community last weekend, and her main reason, or one of her main reasons, I guess, for coming down along the coast, and that was to see a puffin. And she was disappointed that she didn't see a puffin, but it goes to show what people would do, you know, just to see the wildlife in the areas that they don't have them type of birds in their area. And she certainly was disappointed on that. And there's also, I remember driving in the Codroy Valley one morning, just coming daylight, I saw this big school bus stop the side of the road with all those people getting out and lights flashing, and this was cameras, people taking pictures, bird watchers. I mean, they spend thousands and thousands of dollars to come to different areas around the world, and Newfoundland being one of them, to just watch and take pictures of different species of birds. So it's very important that we sign off on this. And the other thing I see starting next year, I see funding becoming available because of this. And when funding becomes available, obviously there's jobs comes into your community. So there's a lot of benefits here as well. The TIWR project. The class graduated on August the 19th. Myself and town manager attended that graduation. It was well performed there by the College of the North Atlantic, and I think everything was great laid out there. And of course, the students who done the program was presented with their certificates and diplomas, and it was excellent. It was excellent. It was greatly appreciated, and I think the people that took the course appreciated it as well. Now, the walking trail I visited that, and it's certainly coming along good. It's extremely nice to see what they have done there. And of course, they have 8 weeks left on that project. The knitting project as well, there's been some beautiful items produced there, and they're continuing at that, and that will continue for another 8 weeks. And then those items that's been knitted will be sold in the museum, and there will be some return come back to the community from the sale of those items. And both projects is excellent for the age group involved, and I believe it's nice. But I guess over the month of August, we did experience some really hot temperatures up in the 25 to 26, 27 degrees, and for the people that was building the trail, it became a little difficult because they got to take the lumber from the boat and take it to the highest peaks. And of course, when you're building a walking trail, you got to go to the highest peaks because that's where you get your viewpoints. And hopefully, this will be completed in a short while. If it's not completed this year with the funding that we have, well, then next year we will have to try for funding to complete it. Your Sand and Sea Festival. It was another great festival again this year. Once again, I would like to thank the Lions Club for showing some leadership in the community, forming the Sand and Sea Committee, and carrying on with the Sand and Sea festivities. I want to congratulate them. I think Mrs. Doris Pink and her committee done a fabulous job for their first one, which was this year. And I believe their suggestion box that they have out in the community is a great idea. It gives people a chance to submit their ideas, and the committee, of course, will take a look at them and decide if they will implement some of those ideas. But overall, I believe it's great to have a Sand and Sea Festival. The weather, of course, didn't cooperate, but nobody can control that. So hopefully next year the weather will cooperate, and we'll enjoy another nice Sand and Sea. Speaking of Sand and Sea Festivals, I'm very pleased, our council is very pleased to accept on behalf of the community of Burgeo a piece of equipment for our playground, and that was presented to the town by the Sand and Sea Committee that served from 1996 to 2009. We certainly want to thank you for donating that to the community, and we certainly appreciate what you've done over those years for the community by carrying out the Sand and Sea festivities. And we certainly appreciate anything that you have done over the years. And this piece of equipment in particular, I think is valued at around $13,000. And we would have had it installed, but unfortunately we had a fire at the garage, and that's been taking a lot of time for our employees with our equipment and tools that's been in a miss, and it was some time before we was allowed to touch anything in the garage. But hopefully by the end of the month that will be installed. We appreciate your gift to the community. On Soil celebrations. On Solar Day has been going on for quite some time now, and I certainly would like to commend and congratulate that committee, the On Soil Committee, for maintaining their traditional On Soil Day. It gives them a chance to socialize with old friends and go back to the place where I guess some of them were born. Certainly they grew up there and went to school there, and it must be a great feeling for them to all get together again. And it was certainly good to see Santa Claus dancing around and Granny in a rocking chair, and I'm sure the kids enjoyed it as well. So hopefully next year if I'm around, I'm thinking about going out to On Soil on that particular day. Back to the playground situation again, there's one other thing I want to mention. Now, the town has applied for funding to install a mini soccer field on that playground, because we like to bring that playground up to standard. This is in the cost facility of $15,000, and we should know in the next couple of weeks or so if this is going to be approved. And if approved, then that mini soccer field will be completed this year. And hopefully it will be, and it will certainly give a little boost with the piece of equipment that was donated to us by the Sand and Sea Committee, give a little uplift to our playground for our kids. Council also plans to install a crosswalk by Variety Quick Shop. Now this area, there's a lot of traffic in that area, and if you notice, the sidewalk is on the opposite side of the road there. And a lot of people live in the area where they go to and from the shop by walking. And pedestrians out walking also drop in the store to shop and purchase different things. And crossing that road is becoming a very concerned area. So council has decided for safety reasons to put a crosswalk in that area. The arena. For some time now, we've had an arena in our community. I don't know the exact number of years, but I'll say 4. And this arena has not yet been named. Everywhere I go, the arenas do have a name. And I think it's time that council named the arena in our community of Burgeo. Now this, of course, is going to be a public process. What council would like for the residents of Burgeo to do, and of course our school, to play a part in this, and to put in writing a name that you would like to see on your arena. Council will be accepting names on to October 31st, 2010, that's this year. And you can submit your name to the town office in writing, the name that you like to see, and also just put your name on the bottom of that piece of paper as well, so we can identify where it came from. Of course, after that, step 1 is completed, then we go to step 2. Now, step 2, after the deadline of October 31st, council will take some time to go over those and names, and all names within reason will be placed on a ballot, and council will set a day or 2 for residents of the community to come into the council office and cast their vote on which name they would like to see for the arena, and council would then make the public would be making the final selection. So the public would decide on what name goes on that arena. And that's the most democratic way that we know how to name our arena. Building committee. There were 4 applications approved to construct sheds in the community at our August 31st meeting. And also a discussion took place on patios and bridges, people putting building places up and under their patios and bridges. And this is considered to be by council not a shed, it's considered to be a storage place, just storage space, I'm sorry. And we encourage people who do that, come to the town office and pick up a permit. Now, of course, after it's done, it would have to be done outside with lattice or plyboard or vinyl siding matching your house or what have you. It's got to be done in a presentable way. And it's not considered a shed to council. It's considered as storage space where people probably want to put their skidoo, bike, stuff of that nature, or wood. So please, come pick up a permit. Policy Committee. For some time now, the Policy Committee has been busy dealing with council's policies. And over the last 48 hours, I've had spent time with the Policy Committee on 3 meetings. And of course, we got the rules and regulations policy on dogs in the community. And may have to be a little modification there on the dog situation. But council has certainly, over the last couple of years, received several complaints concerning stray cats in the community. Council plans by 2011, which is next year, to come January, to have policy in place on cats. And one of the issues on this policy is all cats would have to be licensed like a dog. It would have to have a tag on the stick like a dog. And I guess, of course, the reason for that is once the cats in the community is licensed and wear a tag, it'll be a smaller tag than a dog tag, then we can identify the stray cats in the community. Up to this point in time, we can't, because if we see a cat, we don't know if it's somebody's pet or what. But once the cats that are looked after, have homes, and people's pets are tagged, then we will be able to identify the stray cats and can deal with that situation in the future. And of course, there's only probably one way to deal with it. If anybody out there would like to have a cat and sees a kitten around, then if you want to take it for a pet, go ahead and do it and look after it in a humane, proper way. If not, then there's going to come a point in time that council is going to have to get animal control to come in and clean up on those cats. And if that happens, then that's certainly got to be done in a humane way as well. But in the meantime, we certainly don't want to see anybody doing any hardship to those cats in the community, those stray cats. I mean, they can't help it, they're stray. It was us, I'd say, the humans, that caused it in the first place, because somebody had to bring cats in and didn't look after them, put them out. And of course, the cats weren't spaded or neutered, and they just automatically multiplied as years go by. And some people have taken their pits and taken them to the garbage dump as well, which is sad, you know. It's a very sad situation, but somewhere along the lines, somebody has got to deal with it. And I guess it falls back in the hands of your town council, and we'll deal with it in a much humane manner as we can. And we'll keep you updated on when we receive those cat tags, and you'll have to pay, of course, a small fee, but it's the only way for us to identify somebody's pet from a stray cat. Capital Works projects, 2011. Council had a meeting and talked about some projects that need to be done in the community for 2011, or at least we'll start in 2011. This, of course, would be under a 90-10 program from the government. One of the things we talked about was sidewalks in the Missers area after Inspiration Road ends off on the Missers Road there, going to the park entrance. During the summer, I sat on my bridge one particular day, and I counted 400 to 500 vehicles going up and down that road to and from the park. I guess a lot of them, plus the heavy traffic from the motor homes and trailers going to and from the park, and also a large number of pedestrians walking to and from the park. So it's getting to be a very busy area, and council decided to apply for funding under a 90-10 project to put sidewalks from Inspiration Road, where you turn on Missers Road, to the entrance of the park. And the other item we looked at was the paving of the parking lot at the rec center. I've been there several times, and I know we try to keep it graded, but it's still not good. It's a lot of potholes, a lot of water holes when you on certain places you can park. And of course, by paving this, it would beautify the area as well. And we feel that this has to be done as well. So that one is going to be applied for as well. The other one is the sewer problem on Clogers Lane that I mentioned in my last report. This certainly has to be dealt with, and hopefully it'll be approved, and the job will be done come this year. Now, the engineers have been in town and looked at those projects, and they will determine the costs on each one and present it to the town. And while the engineers were in town, we asked the engineers to take a look at Missers Bridge, because for some time now that bridge has been leaning, I guess, to the east shift, and we don't know what the pound structure is that is laying on the ocean floor. And this has got to be checked out, so the engineers are going to take a look at that. And I guess it's not the question if it got to be replaced. I guess the question is when it got to be replaced. And when it got to be replaced, then I feel that we, and council feels, that we will go to the public again decide what kind of bridge goes back there. I feel we can go back with a wooden structure, or we can go back with a wooden structure swinging bridge. And the swinging bridge is a big tourist attraction in some other communities, and I think it would be appropriate for that area, because most individuals do not want it open up for traffic. And the other reason, I guess, is if you put a steel structure there, a Bailey Bridge, then that would just become one chunk of rust, and that's not very nice to look at. So anyway, when the time comes, we'll approach the public to get their input on that. Now, before I move any further, I just want to go back a little ways to the dog situation. Now, yesterday I received, after our council meeting, yesterday I received a letter from an individual in the community, and I just want to read out a couple of paragraphs there. And, you know, I thought it was a nice letter. It was written, but I'll just read a couple of paragraphs and then I'll make further comments. It goes on to say, Burgeo is such a beautiful place to visit, but most of all, a beautiful place to live. Burgeo is so unique for a little town of its size, with its beautiful beaches and trails, and where everybody knows everybody. Tonight was a beautiful night, such a night to go for a walk. So my husband and I did so. We usually walk to sandbanks and walk the trails, but decided tonight we will walk around the town for a change. I remembered that I had recently bought a brand new pair of sneakers and thought I should try them out. So I did. They are so very comfortable. It was so nice to see other people out and about walking, too, enjoying the warm September weather under a starry sky. So I can imagine what kind of night it was, and the lady and her husband was out for a walk, enjoying the night in our beautiful community. But the unfortunate thing was when she got home, walked into her porch. Now, I don't know, the lady may have carpet there, I don't know. She walked into her porch and discovered that her sneakers was full of doggy dew. And that's not very nice in the community. You know, she goes on to say where it was difficult to get it out, because I know a new pair of boots, they got high creases in them, and it gets in there, and you got to get the water hose and root and try to get it out. So I guess the message that I want to put out there is, please, if you walk your dogs in the community, carry a bag and pick up your doggy dew. I intend to start walking my dog later this fall again. And I'll certainly be carrying little bags in my pocket to pick up his number 2. His number 1, there's nothing we can do about it. But number 2, I think, yeah, we got to be responsible citizens. And of course, this lady is a resident of Burgeo, I believe. But you know, you got tourists coming in as well, and walking on this stuff is not nice for people to walk in that and step aboard their cars, not knowing it's on their boots, and it's ridiculous. So I believe. If we got pets, we got to be responsible pet owners and clean them after them. So I appreciate it that the general public would take that in consideration and do it. On the other hand, back to the letter, I appreciate the letter. It's a very nice letter, well explained. But the letter was not signed. It was signed sincerely, animal lover. And I feel strongly that in our community that if we write letters to anybody, if it's important enough to write a letter to somebody, it's important enough to sign your name to it, you know, because in this kind of a situation where there's no name signed to it, you know, it's almost as bad as the doggy dew itself. And I just want to remind people, if they're writing letters to council or to myself, or to anyone in the community, like the Sand Sea or whatever, please sign your name. If it's important enough to talk about, it's important enough for you to sign your name. So I certainly would appreciate it if people would do that, because we're all should be responsible for our own actions. It's like today, I'm here talking to you on behalf of council, giving out this report. What I say here today, I'm responsible. I'll take full responsibility. Council don't have to take no responsibility for what I say. I write my own reports, I put it in my own words, and I present it to you as I see it. So I'll take responsibility for what I say. The person who writes those letters should at least sign their name and take the responsibility of what they say. And I appreciate if people would do that. Thank you very much. Western Health. I received a letter from Mr. Paul Spencer, a primary health care manager in Portabass, for Burgeo and Portabass. He will be in Burgeo on September the 22nd. He's got a public meeting, and that will be held on September the 22nd, 7 p.m. at the TWIR Hall. I encourage anybody with any concerns around the health area to attend that meeting. And also at that meeting, there will be a committee formed, and this committee will be called a Community Advisory Committee. So it's a very legitimate committee to have in our community, and I feel strongly that people should get involved. And since I've been mayor, I've been encouraging people to get involved in our community, and this is another time where I certainly got to do that. And I would appreciate if you attend that meeting and listen to what Mr. Spencer has to say and become a part of that committee. Hope Brook Go. A gentleman by the name of Dan Lee and Noel Rideout, representatives from Castellian Resources, were in Burgeo on August the 26th, and they met with town manager and myself concerning their plans for Hope Brook. They're going into Hope Brook with new ideas and a positive attitude. Now they know there are X number of ounces of gold in there. That's easy to access. And I guess one of the reasons why the Hope Brook gold mine closed down a few years ago was because the price of gold went down to just over $200 an ounce. Since that time, the gold has been up $12.50, $12.75, and it's been staying there. It's one of the highest minerals on the stock market today. So they're going in with a positive attitude, and they outlined their plans to the town. And if this thing prospers and takes off, then they'll be hiring local people. So I want to point that out to people as well. So there are possibility of some jobs once this gets on the go for a while. Your school zone. Now, the school opened last week here, and the school zone speed limit is 20 kilometers from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And we ask people to respect that speed zone, going from BBS office to the B&B. And of course, the RCMP will be having patrols in that area. And I also want to remind the public that fines have increased for speeding in school zones. They are now a minimum of $100 and a maximum of $1,500. So that's a lot of money, and there's no need to be speeding in school zones, so please drive safely. And take care of our most precious resource, which is the kids. And of course, the kids has to show a little responsibility, I guess, as well, once they're to a certain age, and the parents has got to teach them how to cross on a sidewalk and stay off the roads. And of course, in school, I guess they will be reminded as well. So hopefully we can have a safe year again without any incidents in that area or anywhere around town. Clothing store. I've been informed by the owners of the property known as Rifts. They will be opening a clothing store in Burgeo within the next 6 or 8 months. So I think it's good to have a clothing store back in town. I noticed when the Rifts closed, how many people did I hear say, well, you know, we want a pair of socks or a pair of shorts now, we got to go to Stephenville or Cornerbrook. So it looks like we're going to have an opportunity to purchase clothes here in Burgeo again with a full-fledged clothing store. And I also would like to say, you know, we should support all of our local business wherever we can, because it's what makes a community. is our local business, and it makes a community, and if the business is doing good, well, then they expand and creates more jobs. And I took the time a couple of weeks ago just to do a few numbers on jobs in this community. And this, of course, includes government jobs as well. Did you know that there are 300 jobs in this community each year? Most is full-time, some is part-time, but they're on a yearly basis. And 300 jobs in this community is certainly appreciated, and I believe we can do with a few more, so let's support our local business wherever we can. And this, of course, the 300 jobs do not include the TIOW program and the students that were working this summer. That's excluding those people. So there was 25, 30 jobs right there. So let's appreciate every job we can get in the community. The Minister of Health, the Honourable Jerome Kennedy, has been holding public consultation meetings around the province concerning health care in communities. And Council will submit a written submission to Mr. Kennedy, and of course if he's in the Corner Brook Stephenville area, then I will certainly attend that meeting and of course present him with the submission and also discuss it as well. And what we see in our community that is badly needed in terms of health care, number one that we see here is the chronic care bids at the hospital, where a lot of our chronic care people ask to go outside of the community and not knowing how long they're going to be out there before they can get back in the community when a bid becomes available. And I believe this takes years of their life as well, plus the fact the family cannot visit on a regular basis due to being outside of the town. So our recommendation there would be, where the hospital has 2 wings, so it would be to construct a 3rd wing for chronic care bids. And I believe that's very important that we get that where we have an aging population. The second thing we looked at, well, again, was the physically challenged people in our community. And we got to keep that alive, but I do feel through the discussions I've had with different people in government and Western Health that this will become a reality next year. We was a bit late of getting it into the budget. Their budget was committed before we really got in there. But I feel that there will be something done on this one come next year. The other issue, of course, is one that I do not forget. It always stays in my mind, and I've been working some time with a couple in regards to a seniors home, and I think we reached the stage here where I got to move in another direction. And Council certainly agrees that affordable seniors home or housing has got to be established in this community as well. Very important, because with a aging population again, there are people today, right now, that will go into a senior's home, but they don't want to leave their community, and I certainly can't blame them. So Council is going to do everything in its power to try and get some kind of affordable seniors place in this community, and that, of course, will be on the agenda for the Minister as well, because it's all related to health issues here that we discuss. And nevertheless, we will keep up the fight on that. Tourism industry in our community. Well, the walking trail that we're presently constructing under the TIOW project, I've had a lot of comments from people who walked the trail recently, how great the trail is, what scenery it brings up, and how beautiful it is, and things of that nature. And I talked to a lot of people. For example, last week, and I spent an hour Friday night and whole Saturday with a group of Army cadets that I'll talk about in a minute. But even while talking to them and other people, yeah, walking trails is really nice. It's an highlight for tourism. It takes them to the eye points where they can get a good view of things in your community. So under the tourism walking trails, we got to continue on that track, I believe. And of course, our sign, which I spoke about earlier, in on the road, is certainly a tourism thing. And when you get into bird watching, and a lot of people spend thousands and thousands of dollars on bird watching. And what I see in that area, in the area of the walking trail and the sign, is a parking lot. So brush has got to be cleared there. A parking lot has to be built on that same side of the road for people parking to use that trail. And on the opposite side of the road, I visualize and see and plan for a large parking lot and a tourist chalet to be built there. And of course, when that's done and things start to move in that area, the speed limit by Hearns Arm Falls has to be reduced, and we will contact the Department of Transportation to do that. And I believe this is certainly going to boost the tourism in our community. And of course, our beautiful Sandbanks Park, I mean, the Down Homer, the September issue of the Down Homer, I take it, and I read it, and a lot of you people taking it probably have read it, but a large travel agency in Toronto has written an article in there where they pretty well called the Sandbank beaches of Burgeo the #1 beaches in Canada. And that's good stuff when you get the publicity out to a large travel agency that got access around the world. And I certainly believe that's going to boost our tourism in the future. And of course, the Sandbanks Provincial Park, I don't think yet has met its full potential. I think there's room in that park for other things, and some of the things that I've suggested and we'll be taking a look at is the a 9-hole golf course in the park. That's certainly a tourist attraction. There's a lot of golf players in Newfoundland and Labrador and across Canada and around the world. And, you know, we have golf players in this community that leave this community and go outside and they take in a game of golf or two each year. The other thing that I looked at is a zip line. And the zip line, I think, would be easy to install. You go from hill to hill. And I believe that would be a good tourist attraction as well, to bring people into our park and into our community to spend dollars, and that's the way it goes. So that's some of the things that we'll be dealing with over the, we still have a year gone on council. We've got 3 years left, and hopefully before our term of office is up, we can accomplish some of those goals that I've listed out to you here tonight. So we hope for the best and push forward, and that's our objective is to do that, is to do what we can for the community and the people, and of course financially keep the town in the black. That's our strategy, and that's the road we will follow. The Bank of Nova Scotia held a fundraiser for the Ronald McDonald House all across Newfoundland and Labrador. I feel this was a good project, somewhat like the Daffodil House project, where people go for cancer treatment. They stay there in the Daffodil House, and it's good to know that you have a place to stay when you go there, if it's not full, of course. And the Ronald McDonald House will serve the same thing for kids, sick kids. They got to go into the Janeway or the Health Science. The room at the Ronald McDonald House will surely be appreciated from somebody if they got to go. But hopefully nobody will have to use those facilities. That would be the good part about it. But if they do have to use it, then they can say that Burgeo was a part of fundraising for that facility. And I think that Burgeo raised the most money out of the 34 branches around Newfoundland and Labrador. I think Burgeo raised the most money. And the bank matched that, of course. And then there was a corporate donation as well as $50,000. So I believe the total around the province of Newfoundland and Labrador was $109,000, which was a successful fundraiser. And of course, our local manager and staff here, I want to congratulate them as well for taking part in this drive, and also Mr. Hayden Brown and Hanahan. It goes to show how good people we have in this community, and those two people are like that, and I appreciate everything they do for the community, and this is another prime example. Hayden stepped up, provided the music, not a cent, and stepped up with 50-50 just like that. Nobody didn't need master. So that's the kind of people that makes a community, and I appreciate all this stuff. And and some time ago, I guess a few years ago, the Bank of Nova Scotia held a telethon here at the local BBS for a fundraiser for our arena. I don't know what amount of funds was raised on that telethon, but I think the bank matched it at that time. So it goes to show the good stuff that the Bank of Nova Scotia has done for this community, good corporate citizens, and I certainly want to thank and appreciate what they did as well. Army cadets. Last Friday evening I met, I think it was 18 Army cadets and officers at the government wharf. They took a tour of Ramune and down around Franceville, the South Coast area, and they wanted to spend some time in Burgess, so I met them at the government wharf and had a chat with them Friday evening at around 6 o'clock and presented them with a town pen and made arrangements for Saturday. Where Saturday morning I met them at Gillette's Hotel, and of course we went to the sandbanks, the first order of business. And of course Hurricane Earl was just starting to show its strength. There were wind on the beach there, the southeast winds on the beach, and the visibility in the park that morning was not great. There was a bit of fog. But nevertheless, they all took a swim in the salt water on the first beach and enjoyed every minute of it. They loved the beaches, they loved the sand, the grains of sand. They went to the high peaks, walking trails, and took in what scenery they could, but the visibility was poor, unfortunately. But they really loved the park area. And of course, Saturday evening I met with them at the fire hall, and they wanted me to give them a little lecture on the fishing industry, what it was like back in the 60s and what it's like today and what happened to it, type of thing. And we went through that for a couple of hours, and they appreciated that as well, and they wanted some history of the town. And of course, once I completed my little lecture, I asked each individual about their communities and their towns and cities, and the question that I asked them what the population was and what was their main history and what was the highlight of their community. And very interesting comments I got from those 18 young Army cadets from around Canada. And I'm sure in the future it will prove to be a benefit to me. And of course, things that I explained to them will be a benefit to them. And they really enjoyed the lecture and the tour around the park. And some of them said, yes, they will be back again later years. So that's how we got to promote our community. There's two young people like that. They go back to their prospective organizations and classrooms where they go to school and talk about this, and that draws more people to our area. Garbage around town. Now, I'll speak on the government wharf area first. Council do have a garbage can at the eye level of government wharf up where the cars is parked. Unfortunately, down on the wharf, where all this cellophane and plastic gets caught up to, we don't. And I'll explain the reason why. Now, first of all, I want to say 90% of the garbage on the government wharf area is done by the traveling public, the people that travel on the ferry system throughout the summer. 90% of the garbage, that's where it comes from. The other 10-15%, I guess, comes from the Puddester ferries. Mr. Puddester, who dock on the western side of the wharf, discharge and load. And this is where the cellophane part of it comes from. And it is the responsibility of the Department of Transportation, because they own all of that area. It is the responsibility of the Department of Transportation to put a garbage bin there on that wharf. And it's also the responsibility of the crew of the Puddester boats and the people who carry and take freight from the boats to take the garbage, put it in a garbage bag, and put it in a dumpster that should be there by the Department of Transportation. Then when our garbage collection is done, the garbage will be collected. So we feel we've got to contact Department of Transportation and Mr. Putterster and get this in order, because it's happening on a continuous basis. So hopefully we can rectify that problem for the future. I just thought I would have to mention that. The second one is the playground. Now, council did receive a letter from a lady with legitimate concerns. Her kids was playing on the playground this summer, and there was a certain amount of garbage there. And I'm a person that I'm out around Hurley, and during the summer, some mornings I drove by that playground 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and I have seen crows sitting on those garbage cans and taking garbage out. Now, it was brought up at our last council meeting that we should come up with some kind of cover, some kind of lid to put on those cans, and we will do it in the future. Maybe not this year, because the season is getting close to being finished, and the garbage cans probably will come up. But for next year, we have to put a garbage can there with a lid on it, so the crows cannot pull garbage out of the container. And that way, I'm sure it will keep our playgrounds much cleaner. And of course, on the other hand, parents have to educate their kids not to throw any kind of garbage around, any kind of litter around the playground or the streets. And of course, in the school as well, the teachers should touch on that subject as well, because we got to educate our kids when they're small, and that way it's automatic after they get older that it's no. So I thought I'd just bring up those issues and let you know what's happening in there. The RCMP held a bicycle rodeo, I think it was in the month of August, for the kids, and a barbecue as well. And I feel this is very educational for the kids of our community. It helps them, shows them how to ride a bike, and it also shows them how to ride a bike safely. And of course, I want to thank the RCMP for taking the time to having this little rodeo with the kids, and it's greatly appreciated, I know, by the parents and also by your town leaders as well. And we appreciate anything the RCMP do for the kids, because it gives the RCMP a chance to spend a bit of time with them, and I believe that only lead them in the right direction as they grow older for their future. The Museum Heritage Committee has done some great work over the summer again this year, and they've provided local talent there at least 3 nights. I did get a chance to attend one night. I can't take in everything that's happening around the community, but when I can, I try to take part. And I thought the local talent was great. There were 3 singers originally from Burgeo that took the stand out there and played for a couple of hours, entertaining the local people, and of course tourists as well if they were in the community. And Mrs. Biddy Buckland Cosser's prints have been purchased by the museum and put out there, which I think is fabulous to see that. There's another resident that was born and raised here in our community, Biddy. I can remember going to school with Biddy Cosser, and I think it's great what the museum committee has done there. And photos taken by Donna Warren and a digital frame purchased and put there where you can sit there and watch your community on this little screen, all different photos, and it's absolutely beautiful to see some of the scenic shots that Mrs. Donna Warren has taken and put into that frame. They had seats built for the Mrs. area, again, as well appreciated. And the 2 gentlemen involved, I guess, with them was Mr. Wayne Billard and Fred Spencer. Those people were involved as well. Fred, I think, built the stools. And of course, helped Wayne lobbied and helped in any way he could there. And I noticed they've got the area all cleaned up, grass cut right down, and it keeps the area well clean. And it's a place where our seniors have been going for years to take in the view of the boats and the scenic ocean. And it's nice to have a place for them to just sit and chat and talk about old times. So we certainly appreciate what, and this again goes to show what makes a community is when people like Mrs. Scott and those people step in and do that. once again, it proves that it's not what your community can do for you, it's what you can do for your community, and this is a prime example, and I appreciate it. It's exactly what I've been looking for. So I want to thank June and her Museum Heritage Committee for the work they've done here in this community again this year. At our last council meeting, council approved invoices in the amount of $2,538.84. And it likes to keep them invoices at a low rate. Safety reminder to hunters. The moose season opens this weekend, and I just encourage you to wear blaze, orange or red. Something that's noticeable by other hunters, and of course look out for the berry pickers. And be safe, and think about the safety of others, and I hope each hunter is successful in filling their tags this year. And a little did you know, the schooner called the Manitoban was owned by Captain John Clodier of Burgeo. This schooner had crossed the Gulf many a times, bringing coal and other supplies back to the community of Burgeo and other surrounding communities. And this schooner was lost at sea somewhere between Sydney and Newfoundland in 1955, September the 24th. The Captain John Clodier and his 2 crew members survived the sinking. It's a little history of your community to think about. That's all for this report. On to the next time. Be safe, good night, and may God bless.
This concludes our program for tonight. Thank you for watching. Good night.